Francesca Thompson's hands trembled as she clutched the mirror in her bedroom, tears blurring the reflection that stared back at her. Nathan Ingram's cruel words still rang in her ears from their argument the previous evening. No man would look twice at a face like yours. You're lucky I agreed to marry you at all. She set the mirror down, unable to bear her own image any longer. In Colfax, California, 1875, a woman with no husband and no prospects had few options, and at 22, Francesca was dangerously close to being labeled a spinster. The morning sun filtered through the curtains as Francesca dressed for the day ahead. She'd been engaged to Nathan for 3 months, the son of the wealthiest merchant in town, and, according to her father, her one chance at a secure future. She touched the bruise forming on her wrist where Nathan had gripped her too tightly during their argument, carefully pulling her sleeve down to hide it. "Franny," her mother called from downstairs. "Your father's waiting to take you to town. Don't keep him waiting." Francesca quickly pinned her chestnut hair into a simple bun and headed downstairs. "I've come about wedding invitations." As Mrs. Holloway showed her various samples, the door opened again. Francesca glanced up to see a tall man she'd never seen before step inside. Dust coated his clothes, and his broad-brimmed hat cast a shadow over his face until he removed it, revealing striking blue eyes and a strong jawline framed by dark hair streaked with sun-bleached strands. "Nicolas Irving." He introduced himself to Mrs. Holloway. "Just rode in with a cattle drive. Need some supplies before heading back out." Mrs. Holloway beamed. "Of course. I'll help you in just a moment." "This is Miss Thompson. She's planning her wedding to Nathan Ingram." The stranger turned those piercing blue eyes toward Francesca, and something in his gaze made her breath catch. He nodded politely, but there was an intensity in his look that she couldn't understand. "Pleasure to meet you, Miss Thompson," he said, his voice deep and melodic. "Congratulations on your upcoming nuptials." "Thank you," she murmured, suddenly self-conscious about the faded dress she wore. Mrs. Holloway excused herself to help Nicholas, and Francesca busied herself with the invitation samples. She couldn't help overhearing their conversation. "Will you be staying in Colfax long, Mr. Irving?" Mrs. Holloway asked. "A few weeks. The herd needs rest before we continue to Sacramento. I've taken a room above the saloon for now." Francesca selected a simple invitation design and arranged for them to be printed, then headed for the door. As she passed Nicolas Irving, he tipped his hat to her. "Good day, Miss Thompson." "Good day, Mr. Irving." Outside, Francesca took a deep breath of fresh air. Something about the cowboy's presence had left her feeling strangely flustered. She had nearly reached the feed store when a familiar, unwelcome voice called her name. "Francesca, where have you been hiding all morning?" Nathan Ingram strode toward her, handsome in his tailored suit, his blonde hair perfectly combed. At 26, he was the most eligible bachelor in Colfax, and she was supposed to consider herself fortunate that he had chosen her. "I was ordering invitations, Nathan," she replied softly. He took her arm possessively. "Let's take a walk. I have matters to discuss regarding our arrangement." The way he said arrangement made her skin crawl, but she allowed him to guide her down the street. Nathan's father owned most of the businesses in town, including the bank that held the mortgage on her family's farm. The marriage had been Nathan's idea, his way of acquiring the Thompson property that bordered his father's holdings. "My mother is concerned about the wedding preparations," Nathan said. "She thinks your family is moving too slowly. I assured her you'd be more attentive to details going forward." "We're doing everything as quickly as we can," Francesca protested. Nathan's grip tightened on her arm. "See that you do? And Francesca, about last night. You shouldn't provoke me. It's unbecoming." All she had done was suggest they delay the wedding until spring, and he had erupted in a fury, insulting everything from her appearance to her family's financial struggles. "I apologize," she said, the words tasting bitter. "That's better." His lips curved into a cold smile. "Remember, not many men would take on a plain wife with no dowry. You should show more gratitude." Before she could respond, her father approached them. Nathan immediately transformed, his voice warm and his smile charming. "Mr. Thompson, good to see you, sir. I was just telling Francesca how pleased my family is about our upcoming union." William Thompson beamed. "We're mighty pleased too, Nathan. Your family's kindness means everything to us." Francesca stood silently as the men discussed business. When they finally parted ways, she climbed into the wagon beside her father, her heart heavy. "Nathan's a good man, Franny," her father said as they headed home. "He'll provide for you, give you a fine home." "Yes, Papa," she whispered, watching Colfax recede behind them. For the next week, Francesca threw herself into wedding preparations, trying to ignore the growing dread in her stomach. She was in town nearly every day, picking up fabrics, consulting with the seamstress, and checking on the invitations. It was during one such visit that she encountered Nicolas Irving again. She was leaving the dressmaker's shop when someone called out a warning. A runaway horse pulling an empty wagon barreled down the street toward her. Before she could move, strong arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her to safety as the wagon crashed into a water trough just feet away. Breathless, Francesca found herself pressed against Nicolas Irving's broad chest, his heart pounding against her ear. "Are you hurt, Miss Thompson?" he asked, concern etching his features. "No, Thank you, Mr. Irving." She stepped back, flustered by their proximity. "You saved my life." His eyes searched her face intently. Anyone would have done the same. "Thank you for assisting my fiancé. We'll be going now." As Nathan led her away, Francesca glanced back. Nicholas stood watching them, his expression unreadable beneath his hat. "I don't want you speaking to that man again," Nathan hissed once they were out of earshot. "Cowboys are filthy, uneducated drifters." "He saved me from being trampled," Francesca protested. "And I'm sure he expected some sort of gratitude in return." Nathan's implication made her cheeks burn with indignation. "Remember your place, Francesca." When he turned and saw her, a smile spread across his face. "Miss Thompson, good morning." "Good morning, Mr. Irving. Thank you again for yesterday." He moved to stand beside her in line. "How are you feeling today?" "Quite well, thank you." She hesitated, then added, "I'm sorry we were rushed away so abruptly." Nicholas shrugged. "Your fiancé was concerned for your well-being. That's understandable." Something in his tone suggested he didn't entirely believe his own words. When Francesca's turn came, she collected several letters and a package. Nicholas offered to carry it to her wagon. The question caught her off guard. No one had ever asked her that, not her parents, not her friends, certainly not Nathan. "It's a good match," she said automatically. "The Ingrams are an influential family." Nicholas studied her face. "That's not what I asked." For a moment, Francesca considered telling this stranger the truth, that she was terrified, that Nathan's cruelty grew with each passing day, that she felt trapped. Instead, she climbed onto her wagon. "I should be going. Thank you for your help, Mr. Irving." He stepped back. "My sister teaches in Oregon. She has 3 children. The idea was intoxicating, that she might be more than someone's wife, that she might have value beyond her appearance or her family's property." As the wedding approached, Nathan's behavior grew more controlling. He criticized her clothes, her speech, the way she wore her hair. Each night, Francesca cried herself to sleep, dreading the day she would become Mrs. Nathan Ingram. One evening, a week before the wedding, Francesca was returning home from town when a late spring storm caught her by surprise. Rain poured down, quickly turning the road to mud. The wagon was caught in a deep rut, and despite her efforts, she couldn't free it. Through the downpour, she saw a rider approaching. Relief washed over her when she recognized Nicholas. "Miss Thompson." He dismounted quickly. "Are you stranded?" "The wheel's stuck," she explained, rain plastering her hair to her face. Nicholas assessed the situation. "We need to unload some weight. My cabin's just over that ridge. Let me take you there until the rain stops. Then I'll come back for the wagon." As he prepared the coffee, Francesca watched him move around the small space. There was an ease to his movements, a quiet confidence that contrasted sharply with Nathan's rigid posturing. "May I ask you something, Mr. Irving?" "Nicholas, please." "And yes, anything. Why have you been so kind to me?" He handed her a steaming mug before sitting across from her. "Is kindness so unusual here in Colfax?" "Not kindness in general, but the way you speak to me, the things you say." She took a deep breath. "You called me beautiful." Nicholas met her gaze steadily. "Because you are." "Nathan says I'm plain, that I'm fortunate he chose me despite my shortcomings." Anger flashed in Nicholas's eyes. "Then Nathan is either blind or cruel." "Probably both." Francesca stared into her coffee. "Why would he want to marry me if he finds me so lacking?" Your family's land borders the Ingram property, doesn't it? When she nodded, Nicholas continued. Men like Ingram see people as possessions, things to be acquired. I've met his type before. You make him sound terrible. Am I wrong? Nicholas's voice was gentle. The bruises on your wrist the other day, did he do that? The storm raged outside, but inside the cabin, something shifted between them. Francesca felt the walls she'd built around her heart beginning to crumble. Tell me about your ranch dream, she said softly. Nicholas's face lit up as he described the land he hoped to purchase, the house he wanted to build, the life he envisioned. It wouldn't be an easy life, he admitted, but it would be honest. And the woman who shares it with me would never doubt her worth or her beauty. If you think I'll let some drifter ruin my plans, you're sadly mistaken. You're hurting me, she whispered. I've been too lenient with you. His voice dropped to a menacing hiss. After we're married, that will change. You'll learn your proper place as my wife. Terror gripped her at the threat in his words. Nathan, please, Nathan. The booming voice of Maxwell Ingram, Nathan's father, interrupted them. What's going on here? Nathan immediately released Francesca's arm, his demeanor transforming. Nothing, father. Just discussing wedding plans with my beloved. Maxwell Ingram's shrewd eyes took in Francesca's pale face and the red marks on her arm. Miss Thompson, are you well? Yes, Mr. Ingram, she said automatically. The older man didn't look convinced. Nathan, I need you at the bank. Miss Thompson, good day. As the men walked away, Francesca heard Maxwell admonishing his son. Control yourself in public. Save such discussions for after the wedding. That evening, Francesca sat with her parents at dinner, barely touching her food. Her mother, Ellen, watched her with concern. Francesca, you've hardly eaten. Are you feeling unwell? Nicholas took her hands in his. What will you do? I don't know, she admitted. I have a cousin in San Francisco who might take me in until I find work. Or you could come with me, Nicholas said quietly. To Sacramento. No expectations, no pressure. I'd help you find work, a place to stay. People would talk. Let them. Francesca, I won't pretend I don't have feelings for you. But I respect you too much to pressure you when you're vulnerable. Francesca stepped closer to him. What if I told you I have feelings for you too? That I've never felt more alive than when I'm with you? Nicholas's eyes darkened. I'd say we should be very careful. You're running from one man. I don't want to be someone else you need to escape. You're nothing like him. She reached up to touch his face. You see me, Nicholas. The real me. He caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. We should leave tonight. Ingram won't take this lightly. Dawn was breaking as they rode out of Colfax, Francesca seated in front of Nicholas on his horse. She had left letters for her parents and for Nathan, explaining her decision. She knew there would be consequences, gossip, condemnation, perhaps even pursuit, but for the first time in her life, she was choosing her own path. They traveled for 3 days, avoiding main roads and staying at small inns where Nicholas took separate rooms to protect her reputation. On the 4th day, they reached the outskirts of Sacramento. My friend Thomas owns a boarding house near the river, Nicholas explained. His wife, Martha, runs it. They're good people, they'll help you find respectable work. As promised, Martha welcomed Francesca warmly. Nathan was furious when I left, but apparently he's already courting the banker's daughter from Auburn. Are your parents well? Yes. Father was angry at first, but they're managing. Mother wrote that Mr. Ingram called in part of their loan, but they sold some livestock and paid it. She smiled sadly. They'll be all right without me. Nicholas stopped walking, turning to face her. Francesca, I've been patient. I've tried to give you time and space, but I need to tell you something. Her heart quickened. Yes, I love you. I think I loved you from that first day in the general store, when you looked so sad but still had that spark in your eyes. He took her hands in his. I know it's only been a few weeks since you left Colfax, and if you need more time, I understand. But I needed you to know. Tears filled Francesca's eyes. I love you too, Nicholas. I think I started falling for you the moment you called me beautiful and actually meant it. He cupped her face gently. You are beautiful, inside and out. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home, tender and passionate all at once. Nothing like the cold, possessive kisses Nathan had forced upon her. 6 months later, Nicholas purchased the ranch he dreamed of, a sprawling property with a modest house that they immediately began expanding. Francesca continued teaching at a nearby school, her students adoring the kind, intelligent woman who encouraged their dreams. They married in a small ceremony by the river, Francesca's parents traveling from Colfax to attend. Her father, seeing her genuine happiness, finally gave his blessing. "He looks at you like you're the most precious thing in the world," her mother whispered as they watched Nicolas chatting with guests. "I am to him," Francesca replied. "And he is to me." 2 years later, Francesca stood on the porch of their ranch house, watching Nicolas teaching their 1-year-old son, William, to pet a gentle mare. Her hand rested on her growing belly, their second child due in the summer. "Careful, William," Nicolas called, his voice filled with love and pride. "Gentle hands, just like Mama showed you." The little boy's delighted laughter filled the air as Nicolas swung him up onto his shoulders. Seeing Francesca on the porch, Nicolas walked toward her, his smile warming her heart as it always did. "How are my beautiful wife and baby doing today?" he asked, leaning down to kiss her. "We're perfect," she replied, meaning it with every fiber of her being. As the sun set over their land, painting the sky in brilliant golds and pinks, Francesca reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had almost resigned herself to a life of cruelty and diminishment, believing Nathan's lies about her worth. Instead, she had found the courage to choose love and respect, to believe in her own value. Nicolas set William down to play with his wooden horse and wrapped his arms around Francesca from behind, his hands gently cradling her belly. "Any regrets?" he murmured against her ear. She turned in his embrace, meeting his gaze still as blue and sincere as the day they'd met. "Not one. You. Only that I didn't find you sooner." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "But we have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time." As they stood together, watching their son play in the fading light of day, Francesca knew she had found not just love, but home, a place where she was seen for exactly who she was and loved completely. Beautiful, valued, and free.